right, this is part one of the emergency preparedness program that I have put together for the industry. It'll be on our YouTube channel, and I'm going to do it in three parts. A couple of weeks from now, I will do or maybe sooner, I will do the full evacuation, and then I'm going to do a revamp of infection control, which is also an emergency. And then last but not least, figure out where we're going to go with these active shooter protocols that we need to figure out for our industry, because we're being forced into it, or we're no longer safe. But today I'm going to work on fire safety. So fire safety has been around since the very early days of our industry, and we would have fire drills and people would kind of participate, and we try, the fire department would push us. We had to start putting fire panels in our house, sprinkler systems, fire alarms, CO2 alarms. A lot of things have changed over the last 25 years. And so even in your own private home, the majority of families do not have a fire plan, or even know what they would do if a fire broke out in their house other than to react. So fire safety has become full speed forward, and in Colorado really got pushed forward with the Superior fires. So today we're just going to talk about fire safety. And I'm hoping you have a lot of things done, but to give you a framework of so that you have a QMP 2023 on emergency preparedness. Some of you will have to have one or two other QMPs on business, and maybe one on resident services if you don't have that done from last year. So, some considerations. Smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. They're combo units these days. For your own personal home, you should have at least two, one by your bedroom and one in the kitchen area, but not in the kitchen, but by the kitchen. You should have a fire extinguisher, and it should be an all-purpose fire extinguisher. And you need to build emergency packet for your home and store it hopefully in the cloud. And then for our business models, we have to do all of this, but it may be more formal than we've ever done it. So I'm going to talk about some things I've been working on for the assisted living world for some time now. So we're going to start with fire safety. And like I said, in a couple of weeks, then we'll do a full evacuation. Okay. So fire safety regulations, the majority of the work is in Chapter 2 of the Health Department and Chapter 7. If you do Control F, put fire in, you can go to all the different references. And then we got a brand new manual last July from the Colorado Fire and Safety Manual for schools, congregate living, and long-term care. And it's a really well done toolkit. Again, works with Control F, has a lot of good things, and I hope you will go look at it. Okay. So some of the stuff that I got to review was I've looked at what are in the fires, in the 911 calls for the last 3 years in Colorado, what were some of the root causes. And much to my surprise, attic sensors was number one. The second was electric cords that frayed, and the electrical unit in the wall caught fire, and then the house caught fire. A third one was waste and it catching fire, especially from lightning or from people throwing cigarette butts, that type of thing, or weather conditions. And then much to my surprise, was intentional fire setting. And so that people actually set the community on fire intentionally. We have seen a bunch of apartment buildings in congregate living in the metro area have intentional fire setting for the last quarter. And a lot of the older buildings do not have the 8-hour firewalls and the exits, those 3-story ones you have to go down the stairs, they're not fireproof safety either. So I think we're going to see some code changes, and they're going to force a lot of these buildings to do some upgrades. So as a community owner, you have what we call a certificate of occupancy. That is required before you can take residence. And then you have to have it approved every year. When your fire district gives you the COO, it will also be planted into your COFI. under license, and you may not get a copy. Not every fire district sends the facility a copy like an elevator copy does. I find that kind of weird, but that's what I have found. And so if you don't have it and you've already paid for it, because you will not get it unless you've paid for it, it's approximately $500 for small houses of 19 and under, is at least what I've been seeing. Then you will need to go figure out where it is, because you will not be able to get your building license renewed for the annual renewal without the certificate of occupancy renewal. So remember, this all takes time. So you need to start a couple of months before your building license is due. You will be asked about your toolkit. And so I've been helping facilities build a new fire safety manual toolkit, or actually embellish their current ones they have. And you have to have the fire map. It must be posted by your panel. And you must identify your highest risk rooms. I've been doing that with red dots, those little Office Depot dots. For the time being, we'll see the feedback from the fire marshals, and we'll see how they feel about it. But Denver was very accommodating to that. You must have smoke alarms or sensors. Please understand that residents like to sabotage them. So some of the sabotage we found out there has been hairspray and baby powder, of all things. And they try to sabotage them so that they can try to get light a cigarette and get one or two puffs and get away with it, because smoking's not allowed in our facilities. And then we're going to see a big change on water supply to fight a fire at your house. So if you are on commercial property, you're already mandated to be hooked in to the hydrant system or the city water system. Now I'm starting to see it in the small homes, and the water tanks that have been so popular for so long, several of them turned into mold, and they were contaminated. And so again, they need maintenance, they need to be drained, and they need to be refilled. And at least with a couple of facilities that I went through this with them, it cost over $600 to fill the tanks back up after they were drained. So as a reminder, you have to have your fee, so please make sure it's in your budget. You need to get this done at least 2 months before your annual fee is due. And because that's a bed fee, it's in chapter 2 and 7 explains that, if you need a reminder how much that's going to cost you. And remember, it went up, and then Polis paid for 22, but you will be paying in 23 as far as I know. If you have elevators, you also need those certificates through the elevator safety. If you don't pass, you will get a written notice that you didn't pass it, what needs to be done to correct the problem, and then it immediately goes over to the health department, and you get an additional survey and tags. And the tags I've been seeing on this whole thing is tag 540 and 240. So chapter 7, section 5, chapter 2, section 2.4. This particular tool, Steve, I've known Steve for a long time. He wrote this way back in 2004. There's a lot of good stuff in it. So if you don't have it, you can email me. I'm glad to send it over to you. And like I said, there's a whole pile of really good stuff in here to think about. And then Randy is with the panel guy, and he frequently does a lot of the panels. And he talks about how to test them, how to let the department know that you're going to do a test or a drill so that you don't have the whole brigade show up at your house. Part of your responsibility is building a toolkit. So you want to look at your policies and your guides, your practice drills with your staff, your practice drills with your staff and residents, and then how it went, and then talk about it, educate, revamp it, fix it wherever you need to, and revise. So toolkits are really important piece of the work. And remember, you have to have 6 successful drills per year. One of those must be at night. And who wants to wake people up at 2 in the morning? It rarely happens. Most time these drills are done like at 5:36 in the morning. I hope that the department doesn't push to have middle of the night drills, because that is a real concern to me. Lost my mouse. Oh, okay. So see if I screwed this up. Okay. So the fire department has a really cool video. And when you get this slide deck, I'd really like you to watch this and then watch it with your staff. And this is what they're teaching in the schools and doing a lot of work on. So it's prevent, plan, and practice. And it's a short video, well done, and it'll help give you some talking points for staff education. It's 2 minutes, and I will not do it today. See if we can move ahead here. In the school systems, they're doing a whole lot of new work in prevention. And so I think we might be able to glean some things from that. Now, if I can get my slide to go forward here. All right. Not sure what it just did. All right, you must have electronic exit signs, and not the paper ones that I see all over the state. And so they can be battery or they can be wired in. There is some really interesting studies being done on red light exit signs versus blue light. So depending on the population you serve, you may help you choose which kind of signs you want, because like everything else, they tend to fade into the landscape. People don't pay attention. You need to have staff engagement and pride. The picture I'm showing you is a real picture that I took at a facility that just put egress windows in. I want you to look through the window, and I want you to notice that the exit is wood. Wood is extremely flammable. So I was real surprised that this was approved, because it's not coated, it's not fire retardant. And so I've got a conversation going with the fire marshal for that house. If we can find a way to get a grant or to fix that wood so that it doesn't go up in flames. All right, so mitigation. Mitigation is a term you should really know well these days. So mitigation is how do you tamp down the risk issue? Because you don't want a high risk in fire safety. You want things to work. So in your new fire safety book for 2023, you need to go back to the old days and get the fire risk tool form for every resident, redo it for 23, take your individual scores and put them on the summary page. And then, like I said, your people that are high, somehow indicate that on your map wall. And I have glass over all the ones that I do, so they don't get torn and dirty and all that other good stuff. And then what we're also including in the fire safety book is a copy of the fall assessment tool. So what it tells the department when they come and review you, that at least you're trying to make sure that, to identify your highest risk people for falls, your highest risk people for failure to cooperate, and then who would they want to concentrate their staff to get people out. Okay? So it's all about planning. It's planning about education, it's planning about your drills, it's planning on your annual training. Do not forget that you need to take an old fire extinguisher and have people practice. I don't know how many people have never used a fire extinguisher in their life, or haven't done it for many, many years. Okay. All right. Every time you have a drill, you need to have a huddle. You want to debrief. You want to concentrate on the opportunities. What can we do better next time? How much did we hit the mark? Where was our areas? And you want to document everything. Okay. So an analysis, part of mitigation, is figuring out, did it go as planned? How was our time? Did people bring their emergency folder, which I'll be talking about in 2 weeks? It was real big 5 years ago, it went away, and it's back being really big, not only in our facilities, but in our personal homes. Okay. And did any resident or staff not participate? Did you have pushback? Okay. So the QA, the quality piece of this, is your fire panel management, your sensor management, checking your rooms, water management, making sure that your water's working, that it hasn't froze, or if you have the tanks that they haven't molded out and you change the water yearly. And then to check your fire extinguishers, that they are current and they've been checked by the people that come and do your fire safety checks, and that they got the current card on them and they are clean. I don't know how many fire extinguishers I see that are got a lot of grease and crap on them and never get cleaned. They should be part of your weekly cleaning for that room. Okay. So as you're working on this stuff, please don't forget to celebrate, because celebration will actually get people to participate better. If you can, your fire marshals love to teach. They will come to the facility and do teach and talk to the staff. Invite them. If they have the capacity to do so, they will. Some fire districts are charging, others are not. But for the most part, all the ones that I work with, they love to come over and share and help you be successful. Okay. So this is another video that you can show your staff. And it's all about after hours that I found that I thought would be really a good tool to do. Okay. Another thing I want to bring to your attention is we have a law that was built by the senators and the legislators for our state, signed by the governor in 2006, was amended in 13 and 19. And it prohibits smoking in indoor areas. We are part of that conversation. So no longer do you have to say that the feds won't let people smoke marijuana. We have it in our own legislation from 19. In this slide, when you get the slide deck, here it is for you. Please make sure that every resident has it in their own personal handbook, that they sign it when they are admitted, and you have at least a once a year reminding discussion, if not quarterly, and that you post it in the community area. So it is an important tool for you, and it helps your voice. Okay. This is the new signage that is a designated smoking area that Colorado adapted last year. And they are a hard plastic, so make sure that you have it where the designated smoking is, and then you may need to have the red signs, no smoking in the facility, if you allow people to smoke at your house at all. Okay. If you have one smoker or more, all of your house must have fire retardant trash cans. On the bottom, it's stamped. These are the two best. So the big one is for outdoors. And I don't like the pole one for our industry, because people can't see the hole and they miss it. And I find butts all over the frickin' place. So I like this one better, and it will not blow up and it will not catch on fire. And it's about 20 inches tall. I found them online on Amazon, and I've also seen them both at Home Depot and Lowe's. They do not put plastic liners in. Something else I learned last year, I didn't think about it, but plastic liners are all made out of petroleum. They're highly combustible. So there's nothing goes in them but just the can itself. And then any smoking room must have that black looking one. And on the bottom, it's got a big stamp saying fire resistant. Do not put plastic bags in these either. And so the only one that is safe enough to put plastic bags in is in your kitchen, where you will put food waste. So this is a big change in our industry. It's going to take a little time to get people convinced to do this. Okay. So this is a red sign that I'm really starting to like. And then the other thing I've been doing is on the back of doors in the bedrooms, I've been doing a sign that I make on Word, and I want you to either go right or left to where I want you to gather. It helps people. They don't have to think about it. And then also to grab their own book, their own emergency book, just in case we have to fully evacuate for some reason. Okay. So some new requests from the fire marshals since July. They would like you to shut the electricity off. That may not be so easy, maybe in your basement. So you may or may not be able to help with that. They want you to have a census and account for all your residents. And they want to know that you've got everybody accounted for. And we've had some mishaps and some really tough situations. One situation in a memory care where a gentleman got away and wasn't found for several hours. And then you guys have all heard on the news this weekend, the lady, this 97-year-old that froze to death last year. And so a lot of conversation, a lot of legal going on around there. So you must have some way to do the census. So whether you have a paper census or whether you have a census in the cloud or on your phone, you got to figure out how you're going to count for all residents. Okay. So here are some common areas that the department, when they presented last August and September, they talked a lot about this, that a lot of residents don't even react to the alarm. It just goes in one ear and out the other until the staff person gets in their room. And then some residents putz around and they take a lot of time to leave. They want to get dressed. They want to see what everybody else is doing. They want to see what shoes people are wearing. And they just putz around and don't take it very seriously. We want them to be out of the building rapidly. And you need to know what rapid means. Some of you have shelter in place, but you may only have to evacuate a part of your building. And you got firewalls and you got fire doors. And if you do, you need rules around that and you need to train to that, okay? If your residents are hard of hearing, you might want to figure out a way to put that on your census. If they get confused with when there's chaos, they may need handheld and taken out, and they may need a peer support to do that, and that might work. And then sometimes residents start and they start doing good, and then they get distracted. And I was at one house here about a year ago, and the lady halfway down the hall, and then she thought, I want my purse, and made a U-turn and went back to her room to get her purse. And so again, you need to know what what they're going to do and how they're going to act, and then to think about how you're going to be successful. So I want you to rate your facility. And then like I said, if you get a hold of me, I'll send you the whole slide deck. This program will be on our YouTube channel. You can watch it as much as you want. I would like you to show your staff the videos that I have located for you. There is also other ones on the Colorado Fire and Safety website, and there is some in CDPHE for fire safety, and there's some in the CDC level for fire safety. So build your education tools, make sure you take credit for whatever tools you're using, get people to do a wet signature on any training, take credit for that work. And then remember that part of your work in your orientation with new residents the first week is that you have a discussion with them and a practice, one-on-one practice. What happens when we have a fire drill? Just don't expect people to know how to do that. And then your families also. And that's part of your conversation in your resident meetings this is what we're doing. This is what we are going to be doing for fire drills. And this is how we're going to react, because we've had enough experience in Colorado that we don't want to have a negative. We want a very positive experience. And then we'll talk in about 10 to 14 days, and we'll do evacuation. Thanks for coming today.